My name is Virmarie DePoyster. I am a professional artist living in North Little Rock. I have been in North Little Rock for over 30 years. I moved to North Little Rock right after I graduated from college. And I just love our community here. It feels sort of like a small town in a really big city. And I've gotten to know a lot of people and feels like home now. So I'm delighted to be here with you today. So my love affair with the arts started back when my kids were little. I decided I needed some social interaction. All throughout my life, I'd been highly creative. I like to tell people that I was never the A student. I was always the B and C student, but I could somehow come up with some really creative stuff. And so I was missing that in my life. And I had children that were little, they just cried and they didn't, I needed some social interaction. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna sign up for a class at the Arkansas Art Center Museum School, because if I pay for a class, I'll show up. And so I did that, and I fell in love immediately with pastel. It was a really easy medium. So I grew up in Puerto Rico. I moved to Arkansas when I was 15. My dad was a preacher, and it was kind of sort of like a very precious type of upbringing. And so I wasn't allowed to have TV or to listen to the radio. So I really gravitated to doing things artistically. And so I played a lot of games, drew, did that type of thing. And then when I was 15, my parents separated and we ended up in Arkansas. That's how we moved here. And so in El Dorado, I was just trying to learn English. I was trying to get by. We were the third family in town that was Spanish. So there wasn't like a second language thing where you could go into this program where they would help you. You just get thrown into a classroom setting to learn. And so it took me about a year to figure out how to speak English and kind of had to get around. I had a dictionary with me all the time that I carried, translating everything. And at that time, it's funny how things are. They even wrote an article about us and put it in the front page of the paper because we were just this oddity. And I remember just wanting to hide under a rock, and so that led me to Arkansas, and we fell in love with the state. But it's really different coming from a tropical environment to come into Arkansas, where in Arkansas all the houses have some form of red brick. And in Puerto Rico, it's very colorful and it's tropical. You have color everywhere. So as I was doing my art, I realized that these really bright, bold colors keep showing up. And my teachers kept on telling me that I needed to tone down my color, that it was just too bright. And I would say, but I like color. I just like color. I can't explain it. And so eventually I ended up just realizing that people that come from tropical environments, their eyes are, more used to seeing color, and that I just love color and there was nothing I could do about it. So it's interesting how our childhood really influences who we become in the end, and how things work for us. So when COVID first started, I was like petrified. I had been getting ready to have a solo exhibition at the Art Center of the Ozarks in Springdale. It was a big deal. And I had been working on my Beyond Levels exhibition for 8 to 9 months. I was in the throes of having to finish my framing and getting everything finished. And I'm worried about whether the store is going to be able to cut my glass to put it in the frames. And so I'm running around trying to get as much glass cut as I can so that I can finish the work. And at that time, we thought, we're going to be in this maybe for a couple of weeks. It's not going to take that long. And so I was trying to get it ready because I knew the exhibition was supposed to hang for 3 months. So I thought, okay, even if we're shut down for a month, at least people will get to see the work. The last 2 months of this thing. And then here we are now 10 months later, and so we're still waiting. But the exhibition went up. It was in the dark for 3 months at the Art Center of the Ozarks in Springdale. And so then I had to go pick it up and bring it back home, and I hung it here so that it could at least be with me and I could see it on a daily basis. But right after that, I went into this throes of, I'd always wanted to learn how to make sourdough bread. And I heard it was a lot of work and I never had the time. And so I thought, oh man, here I am, I have time. I think I learned how to make sourdough bread. And so I started making my mother, and I started doing all of these things with it, and ended up making loaves and giving away a lot of bread. And so that was another way of me to create without having to physically be at the easel painting. Because I kept on thinking to myself, well, if I keep painting, what am I going to do with all these paintings? Nobody's seeing them. So after a while, I got tired of baking bread, because there's only so much bread you can make and give away, and then you got to go back to work. And so I started thinking, well, how else can I, hold space for myself and be true to who I am and create some things along the way. And so I decided I would start a new series of paintings that were more abstract nature. So when I first started in art, drawing is the first thing that they say, oh, you must learn how to draw. And people just have this idea that if you cannot draw anything, you can't do art. And there is some truth to that, because it's wonderful to be able to render something. So I started with drawing, and then I gravitated to pastel. Pastel are dry sticks. They're about this big, and they're pigment that is held together by a binder. And so you use it kind of like this, or they come in pencils. And so I just fell in love with that, and it was so immediate. And then I tried acrylics. I got confused when the wet paint becomes another paint, and I just wasn't crazy about that. And I tried oils, but I didn't like the smell of them. So then I gravitated again back to pastels. And so from time to time, when I get bored, I just switch to something else. But those are pretty much my mediums. And I think in the state, I am known as a pastelist, because that's what I taught, and because it's what I have a lot of practice with. One of the latest projects I have been working on was titled Her Flag. Her Flag was a nationwide traveling art project created by a wonderful artist out of Oklahoma City called Marilyn Artist. She decided to team up with 36 artists around the US and choose an artist for each state to design a stripe commemorating the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. And so we were asked, the flag is 18 feet by 26 feet. So my stripe was very, very long, and we were asked to design a stripe that was 6 inches tall and 18 feet long to be able to commemorate these women. And so I got to do lots of research about Arkansas suffrage movement, learn wonderful things about the women that have been involved. And Marilyn's goal was to really highlight the minorities and the women of color that had been part of the suffrage movement, that had helped the fight along the way. And so I learned, about these wonderful women in Arkansas, and how they were able to further, move the vote. So I met Marilyn at the state capitol, and she sewed the flag onto my stripe onto the flag. The governor's wife came and gracefully talked with us, and it was a wonderful time. The flag actually hung at the Clinton Library outside the library for a month, and it is currently traveling. So it was a wonderful experience to be involved with, and I'm really excited to be part of that. Thank you so much for having me today. It has been delightful to share my story with you. I hope that if there's anyone out there that is thinking about whether they should go into the arts, that you seriously reconsider it, because there's so many benefits from it can be a relaxing type of thing. You can also grow a lot and learn a lot. And North Little Rock is such a wonderful city. There are quite a few wonderful artists here in town. So if I can help in any way, feel free to contact me. My website has all that information. So thank you for having me.